variable and fixed input. In the market period, all inputs are fixed. The producer cannot change any of the inputs. In the short run, some inputs are fixed. In the short run, you have at least one fixed input that you use with other variable inputs. Okay. In the long run, all inputs are variable. Okay. So we are able to differentiate these three time horizon by looking at the ability of the producer to make changes to the inputs that they use in the production. If they cannot make any changes to the amount of input, then they are in the market period. If they are able to change some of the inputs but not all, in other words, at least one of the inputs that they use still remain fixed. For example, they can change the amount of water, seeds, fertilizers, labor, equipment, but the size of the land remains the same. Right? Then they are still in the short run. But if they are able to change everything, all the inputs that they use in the production, including the land, which is probably the most difficult inputs to change, then they are now operating in the long run. Okay?
Slide shows slide 20 picture grid lines, not the elasticity of supply in the market. Slide shows slide 23, elasticity of supply is short. Slide shows slide 22, elasticity of supply in the market.
Okay. Because in the short run, because in the market period, the producer cannot make any changes to the amount of inputs, then the supply curve in the market period will be perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic. The supply curve is perfectly vertical. Whatever happens to the price in the market, the producer cannot increase or reduce output. They will continue to produce and offer the same quantity of output in the market. For example, the farmer have produced, let's say, 50 kilogram of cabbages. And the cabbages are ready to be picked. So after loading all these 50 kilograms of cabbages into the truck, the farmer drive to the near market. When he arrived at the market, he found out that the price of cabbages has increased. Before this, the price was 3 ringgit per kilogram. So because of the price is 3 ringgit per kilogram, he has planned to produce this much of cabbages, let's say 50 kilogram per month. However, now the price has gone up to 4 ringgit per kilogram. So because production has already ended and the farmer is already in the market, he has with him only 50 kilogram of cabbages. Even if the price goes up to 5 ringgit, 6 ringgit, 7 ringgit, he cannot supply more because the quantity that he has is only 50 kilograms. So because of that, the supply curve is perfectly vertical in the market period. The farmer cannot make any changes to the production process and therefore cannot make any changes to the quantity of output that he produced. Let's say after he sold all the cabbages in the market, he rushed back to his farm, knowing that the price has now gone up from 3 ringgit to 4 ringgit, right? So these additional profit margins for the producer or for the farmer create additional incentive for the producer to increase production. So he planned his farm very carefully so that he can optimize all the resources that he has. Okay? So in order to increase production, he tried to increase the inputs that he used in the production. For example, increase the amount of fertilizer, seeds, water, labor, yeah, and even equipments in the farm. However, one thing that the farmer cannot change is the size of the land. So even if the farmer wanted to increase the amount of cabbages that he produced, but because the size of the land remained fixed, then it creates a limitation for the farmer to increase production. Maybe he can increase the output from 50 kilogram up to maybe 60 kilogram or 70 kilogram, but that's it, because of the limitation of the fixed size of the land. That's why we call this the short run. Some inputs can be varied, but as long as one input remains fixed, that fixed input creates the limitation for the producer to increase further its production. Okay, so what will happen in the short run? In the short run, the supply curve will be very inelastic. Yeah? It is not perfectly elastic as before, like in the market period, because now the producer can at least increase some of the inputs, yeah? The variable inputs, to be used together with the fixed input. But because of the presence of the fixed input, it creates limitation to the ability of the producer to increase further its production. Yeah? So as the price goes up, yeah, quantity supplied may increase, but at a very small level. Yeah? Even a very big increase in the price will only result in a very small increase in quantity supplied. Okay. Now, in the long run, the producer will have more time to adjust the inputs that he used in production. For example, if the farmer in our context here able to increase the size of his land used in the farming from, let's say, 1 acre to 2 acres after 6 months, he managed to secure another piece of land. So because of he is able to increase all of the inputs, yeah, there's no more limitation in terms of the presence of the fixed input in the production. Therefore, the ability of the producer to increase output will significantly increase. Yeah? So in the long run, yeah, the supply curve will be more elastic. Yeah, will be more elastic. Yeah? So in the market period is perfectly inelastic, perfectly vertical supply curve. In the short run, yeah, the ability to increase output is there, but very limited. Yeah? So highly inelastic supply, but in the long run, the supply curve will be relatively more elastic. Yeah? So the ability of the producer to respond to higher prices in the market will be much better when the producer is able to make changes to all the inputs that they use in the production. So as a summary, we cannot differentiate between market period, short run and long run based on a definite time frame. Yeah? It depends from one producer to another producer. In the example here, if the farmer required 6 months, yeah, to increase all inputs including the size of the land, then anything before 6 months is considered to be short run, and after 6 months, when all inputs can be varied, is considered to be long run. But if you are talking about an aviation company like Malaysia Airlines, yeah, what would be the most difficult inputs in their operation? Probably the aeroplane. Yeah? And how long do you think Musk would require to buy a new aeroplane? Probably many years, yeah? Maybe 2 years or 3 years, or can be even more. Yeah? So within the period in which they are stuck with, let's say, X number of aeroplane, so they can increase the number of pilots, they can increase the number of steward and stewardess, they can increase the number of staff at the airport, at the check-in counter, and so on. But because they have a fixed number of aeroplane, they can only sell up to a certain amount of tickets. Yeah? So the number of aeroplanes that they have creates that limitation in the short run. The moment that they have enough time to change all inputs, including the number of aeroplanes that they have, then they are already moving towards the long run. Yeah? So the long run production is when the producer or the seller is able to make changes to all of the inputs that they use in production.
Slide shows like the cause elasticity of demand.
Now we move to the third type of elasticity, which is cross price elasticity of demand. This is different from the price elasticity of demand, because price elasticity of demand only look at the relationship between the price of product X and the quantity of product X. Yeah? The price and quantity for the same product. But for cross price elasticity of demand, we are looking at the relationship between the price of X with the quantity of Y. Two different products. Yeah? Two different products. The reason is because in the market, we have many products which can have relationship with each other, either as substitutes product or complementary products. Yeah? So examples of substitutes product, we have various types of fruits, bananas, oranges, apples. These can be substitutable from one to another. Yeah? Or a classic example between tea and coffee. Yeah? Or Pepsi and Coca-Cola. These are examples of substitute product. If you don't want to buy A, you can buy B, or C or D. Yeah? Complementary products refers to a pair of products that are used together. You cannot use one without the other. Yeah? For example, you cannot play tennis without the racket and the tennis ball. Yeah? Or you cannot drive a car without having the petrol in the tank. Yeah? Or you cannot have a nice cup of tea without probably sugar. Yeah? So for those who like to drink sweet drinks, yeah? You cannot have tea without sugar. Yeah? Okay, so these are examples of substitutes and complementary products. Okay. So lagi. Habis tak?
Ada sikit.
Okay.
Both measure responsiveness of sales that change in both substitutes. Positive both complement both independent goods 0. Logo, percentage change in quantity demanded of product X. Logo, both independent both complements. Negative sign. Both substitutes. Positive sign. Both measure responsiveness of sales cause elasticity of demand. Both in logo. Percentage change X. Y equals. Y P E X comma Y. Percentage change in price of product Y. Percentage change in price of product Y. X Y equals. Percentage change in price of product Y. Percentage change in price of product X Y equals. Percentage change in quantity demanded of product X.
Okay, let's look at the formula for the cross price elasticity of demand. Cross price elasticity of demand percentage change in the quantity of product X divided by the percentage change in the price of product Y. Okay, let's give some examples. Yeah? Let's say Y is petrol, X cars. Okay, what happened when sorry, cancel.
Okay.
Okay, restart.
Nah.
Let's look at the formula for the cross price elasticity of demand. Percentage change in the quantity of product X divided by the percentage change in the price of product Y. Let's say we have product Y, cars, product X, petrol. Okay. What happened when the price of cars declined? According to the law of demand, assuming that other factors remain constant, the lower price of cars, product Y, yeah, will result in many people buying cars. Yeah? So people will buy more cars. But you cannot run a car without petrol. So the more people using cars, the greater the quantity of petrol that they need to use. Yeah? So when the price of Y, the price of cars decline, people buy more cars, and as a result, people will also buy more petrol. Okay? So the price of Y decline, negative sign. The quantity of Y increase, and as a result, the quantity of X will also increase. Positive sign. Yeah? So positive sign divided by negative sign, you have a negative sign whenever the two products are complementary products. Yeah? Okay. What happened for substitutes product? Let's say Y is let's say Y is apple, X is orange. Okay, these are substitutes product. What happens if the price of Y increase? Yeah? Price of apple increase. Will people buy more apple or less apple? People will buy less apple. Yeah? But since oranges is a substitute to apple, people will turn to buy more apples. Yeah? People will turn to buy more apples, less of orange and more of apple. So price of Y increase, positive sign. As a result, quantity for Y decline, people buy less apple, and they will buy more orange, quantity of X will increase. So price of Y increase, positive sign, resulted in quantity of X increase, also positive sign. You will have a positive coefficient for cross price elasticity of supply when the two products are substitutes. Okay. Another possibility, if price of Y decline, let's say the price of apple, yeah, product Y decline, what will happen? According to the law of demand, when the price of apple decline, people will buy more apple. But because the price of apple is currently relatively lower, ceteris paribus means that the price of orange doesn't change. So people probably will buy more apple and less of orange because orange is the substitute to apple. Yeah? So what happened? Price of Y decline, people will buy more Y and people will buy less X. So quantity of X will decline, negative sign. Price of Y, when price of Y increase, positive sign. When price of Y decrease, negative sign. So negative divided by negative, you will still have a positive coefficient for the cross price elasticity of demand when the two products are complementary products. Yeah? So when the cross price elasticity of demand coefficient is positive, we can conclude that the two products are substitutes, and when the coefficient for the cross price elasticity of demand is negative, we can conclude that the two products are complementaries. Yeah? What happened to a pair of product which has no relationship at all? Okay, let's say Y bananas and X cars. Yeah? These two products seems to be not related, right? So if you look at the formula here, if the price of Y, let's say, decline, yeah? So price of banana decline, people will buy more bananas, right? But what is the relationship between bananas and cars? So there will be some changes in the price of bananas, but they will not be having any effect on the quantity of cars. Yeah? So because of that, percentage change in the quantity of cars, QX, will remain the same. Will be 0%. Yeah? And therefore, the coefficient for the cross price elasticity of demand will also be 0 when the two products are independent products without any relationship.
Slide 26. Income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity.
Now we come to the last elasticity measure, which is income elasticity of demand. So far, all the three elasticity measures that we have discussed, price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, and cross price elasticity of demand, they are all related to the relationship between price and quantities of products. Yeah? However, the last one is the relationship between income and the quantities being demanded. Okay? So the formula for the income elasticity of demand here,
Percentage change. The quantity demanded.
percentage change in the quantity demanded for a product divided by the percentage change in the income of the consumer. Okay? So by using this, we are able to differentiate between two kinds of products:
Percentage change. Low, lower. Full inferior goods. Negative sign. Full normal goods. Positive sign.
normal and inferior
Full
goods.
negative responsive to suppliers that changes in income.
Okay? So the income elasticity of demand basically measure consumers' responsiveness to the change in the income in relation to their decision to purchase a particular product. Yeah? So let's say your income increased by 10%. How much more you will buy, let's say, fruits? How much more you will buy newspapers? How much more you will buy books? Yeah? So how consumer responds to the changes in their income in relation to the purchase of different kinds of products. And there are two potential relationships between income and consumption. Yeah? Or how much, how many quantities of products the consumer will buy. If the relationship is a positive relationship, in other words, if income increase, you buy more of that product, then we can conclude that that product is a normal product. Most of the time, products are considered to be normal product. However, there are a small number of products which are considered to be inferior products. Yeah? So Inferior products are the products you buy because you are not able to afford buying normal products. Let's say if you have the money, you would be buying a proper meal for your lunch. Yeah? But because you don't have the money, instead you buy a cheaper substitute. Let's say not even Maggi mee, you buy Sedap mee or Indomie, where the price is lower. Yeah? So this is an example of an inferior product, because if you have the money, you will not be buying these products. Yeah? So the relationship between income and inferior products will be negative. When income of the consumer increase, you have more purchasing power, you are more able to buy goods and services, right? Now you are buying normal products instead of the cheaper inferior products. Yeah? So as a result, whenever income of the consumer increase, positive change in income, the quantity demanded for inferior goods will be lower. Yeah? Similarly, if the income of the people decline, let's say in current situation where we have economic crisis, so many people lose their income. So many people decided to cut down on their expenditure, buying cheaper substitutes from what they used to buy. So this type of products, which are inferior products, will be highly demanded nowadays, because the income of the people is lower, so quantity demanded for inferior products will be higher. Right? So the summary is, whenever income and quantities of the product have positive relationship, then the product can be concluded as a normal product. But if they have a negative relationship, then the products are considered to be inferior products. Okay. For normal products, we can also divide them into two categories. Normal products. Normal product means when our income increase, we will buy more of that product. Okay. So we have two categories, one with high coefficient and the other one with low coefficient. During economic crisis, what happened? People will cut down their expenditure, right? But they will cut down their expenditure on the things which are less necessary. Less necessary. So they will cut down on that item first before they cut down on other items. For example, before this, you subscribe to the full Astro package. Because now your income is lower, maybe you cut down to basic package, or you end your subscription altogether. Okay. However, the purchase of other normal goods still continue. You still buy bread, you still buy other kind of food, you still use electricity, but you try to reduce them. But the reduction is not as much as what you would expect as compared to other things which are less necessary. So in economic recession, the products with high coefficient of income elasticity of demand will be most affected. During economic recession, people will be less traveling, people will go less to gyms and spas and saloons. People will be less going out for dining, restaurants, and so on. But supermarkets will still be filled with people. People will still need to go and buy groceries and stuff. And then we have the third category here, inferior goods. So normal goods can be divided into two: the ones which have high coefficient and the other one with low coefficient. But they are both positive. Yeah, it means that they are both normal goods. The third category is the inferior goods, negative coefficient. So during economic recession, demand for inferior goods will likely to increase. Yeah, so people will buy cheaper substitutes when their incomes are lower, and therefore they will be benefiting in the periods of recession. Okay, now we come to the end of our discussion. Yeah, this is a summary of the cross price elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. Yeah, so as you can see here, cross price elasticity of demand enable us to differentiate between two goods which are substitutes and two goods which are complements. Yeah? Substitute goods will have a positive sign for the cross price elasticity of demand coefficient, while complementary goods will have negative coefficient for the price elasticity of demand. And for income elasticity of demand, we will have positive coefficient for normal goods, and we will have negative coefficient for inferior goods. Okay, thank you very much. Hope you are able to read your textbook, and if you don't understand, please come for consultation. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.